Welcome to this, your daily briefing. We're going to rattle through my reaction to the chairman's bizarre, bewildering video message that was put out yesterday for two reasons. One is the attention span of YouTube's audience can be a little bit, and if the sun comes any further over this barn, I'm going to turn into like the contents of an ashtray because it's very, very hot today. Right, point number one. You don't thank your CEO for his time. You might do if he pops around your house at the weekend to help you put together some IKEA furniture, but you don't thank him when he is explaining himself because his hand has been forced because of the ugly mood that's being noticed in the fan base. People are confused, and some people are just straightforward lost it and they're angry. So no, you don't get a thank you for sparing us the time. This is on the company clock and you caused it, so you have to explain it. Misinformation, there's a laugh. Listen, let's not use this as an exercise to beat people up. All the good information that came out, or the best quality information that came out in relation to DOF, in relation to manager Hunt, etc., came from abroad, and everything bad came from the UK. One newspaper, The Sun, started the Poch thing, got jumped on by The Athletic and other people, and blew itself out because there was nothing there. The misinformation, most misinformation surrounding this football club comes from your press officer. So please, don't give me that. Oh, we haven't even spoken to them. Oh yeah, well, how could they have refused us? We didn't interview them. You're an idiot. So don't play the oh, it's other people doing the stories and not me. You employ this guy. You must know what he's up to. This is a curious one. This is a very curious one, and I think this tells us a lot. I get a lot of criticism because I like to do things in private. Look, I got to express this without being unkind, otherwise people accuse you of just, but you get accused, or you get criticised rather, because you don't back coaches and because you don't prioritise winning silverware, which is a fundamental purpose of a football club. I don't know of a single living human being who is particularly fascinated in you. So your privacy, I don't get it. Maybe there's something that I need to be told, but I don't see your privacy as being an issue with anybody. And I think that you're so obtuse that your default setting when you're criticised is to double down on the pity me routine, which is a sign of weakness. It says about wanting to conduct himself in a dignified manner. What that is saying is that other people are behaving in an undignified manner. And if you are going to be in the business of running a football club, my friend, you need to have slightly thicker skin, or at least don't bother us with when you pretend that you don't have sufficiently thick skin. You've acknowledged that Harry Kane is frustrated, and we're all frustrated, yada, 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 yada. And immediately puts Paratici in the firing line for a problem that you allowed to bottleneck over the last 5 or 6 years. There's no two ways about it. The reason that Harry Kane is reviewing his position is because you have created a football club that nobody wants to be at. So, the idea that Fabio is going to sort this out in the aftermath of a pandemic, it's pretty revolting, actually, that you'd even come out with a line like that. We have to be realistic. We're still in a pandemic. Right, now this next point I'm going to make, some of you, I could talk to you for days, right, and you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't understand it. You wouldn't be willing to countenance what I'm saying to you. The Lawn Tennis Association, our friends over at Wimbers, they had SARS COVID insurance. And I'm not a bureaucrat. In fact, I leave all of that aspect of my life to her indoors because it bores me. But you, Mr. Levy, you are a bureaucrat. You're an absolute pain. A pedant is what you are. And the idea that you would take your eye off the ball to such an extent is extraordinary. Now, I've mentioned this on the blog before. And people have said, oh yeah, but what other football club got SARS insurance? Here's my quick answer. I don't care. I do not care. What I know is that you spent over £1 billion of our money, and I'm going to come on to that as well, because you're weaving fibs into this half-wit of an apology or half-wit of an explanation. You spent over £1 billion of our money on something and it wasn't fully insured. Now, just because a lot of people watching this, I don't know where you are. I know there's lots of you in the States, in Australia, but those of us with a broad worldview would have been well aware of the problems there had been in certain parts of the world with this type of disease, this type of virus. And the idea that you spend £1 billion on a capital asset, and wait for it, drum roll, that your major sponsorship deal is with an insurance company from that part of the world, and you don't get it. It wouldn't have been cheap, but if Wimbledon did it, and they're sponsored by Rolex, or the last time I looked, but they're not sponsored by AIA, I just think it's unforgivable, and I'm not prepared to forgive it, hence the use of the word unforgivable. And anyone still wanting to whine and bitch and tell me that that's an unfair comment. Businesses, all businesses, virtually all businesses, need to be aware, need to have cognizance of how the world is developing in terms of technology, everything. You know, you need to have the sharpness, the foresight that your business is looking forward in order that it can capitalise and take an edge against your competitors. So, for example, face recognition on a mobile phone. That was unthinkable 20 years ago. Recently, because I don't drive, I was absolutely flabbergasted by adaptive cruise control in our new car, right? But what I'm saying to you is that if you can come up with a skywalk, right, and you can come up with a device for pouring a pint in the time it takes for one to sneeze, but you can't get comprehensive insurance. And one question I'd pose. So you've got beer that pours really quickly, you've got a really long bar, you've got cashless terminals, and you've got a skywalk. Those are things you can charge money for, aren't they? Whereas the insurance, you can't make any money out of that, can you? It doesn't have a cash point. Quote, need to be prudent over coming years. Our duty is to protect the club. Well, there isn't any way of saying this without sounding trite. You are the biggest threat this football club has ever had. And the amount of guano that I've had to listen to over the years with people telling me, and I started going to football matches, goodness me, 1980, 77, 78, something like that when I was a kid. And I got people telling me, oh, you didn't see us play in the 90s. We weren't in this class of trouble. We weren't making this class of stupid mistakes. And there were some clowns involved in the club, but that's like moaning about Leeds having gone pop. That's like moaning about, oh yeah. I mean, it's just boring. It happened a long time ago. We're talking about here and now and looking to work our way out of this mess. And it is a mess. So you're protecting the club, and we go back to the bottleneck. We're overexposed with debt, and we've got a squad that's past its sell-by date. And you don't have to go too far. I've seen a couple of comments in here, and I love the comments, so please keep them coming, good, bad or indifferent. But think to yourself before you hit send or whatever, am I going to make people laugh, but not actually, want to make people laugh? Are people inadvertently going to think that I'm a fool? Oh, but we don't need to worry about that because what's his name's going to come in, and he's got Fonseca, and he's got a tremendous record of loaning players. Yeah, in the Ukraine. Maybe he does. Maybe these two do great works. Who knows? I don't know. But this situation is horrible, And even when we had Ryan Mason playing his mates, we still played terrible football and lost a cup final. So he threw Fabio under the bus. There's room for another. There have been circumstances where a coach doesn't want us to spend on a particular player. Right, face value. Well, if the coach doesn't want it, then the coach can't sit on his hands and say, well, I haven't got any new players. Face value. Reality is that if you say, I want Jack Grealish, and Jack Grealish is going to cost you 40 million or whatever, and I'm going back a bit now, but you know, and you offer 18p and half a curly whirly, so you get a big fat no, and then you find some, you know, like I said before, Stefan Stepover in League One, who's 13 million, and you say to the coach, and he's talking about Pochettino, sorry. If you say to Poch, here we go, I can't get you Grealish, but I've got Stefan Stepover, and he's 13 million quid. And Poch says, no, please, I don't want a 17-year-old. I need somebody who, like Grealish, can draw 15 fouls in one game. I need a player who's you know, really on the way. So, and that's the problem. Levy and his team of analysts, I'd be fascinated to meet them on a dark, stormy night, have been far more missed than hit. We mentioned Gedson Fernandes yesterday. Another unintentional funny, how Daniel Levy has the audacity to mention financial fair play is beyond me. In the immediate sense of things, anybody who was involved in the European Super League, which I'm not adverse to, anybody who was involved in that hasn't got a leg to stand on in talking about, you know, playing the game, you know, in the traditional way. And anybody who is having a go at getting round financial fair play, I say good luck to you. If you get caught, but good luck to you. And the trouble is with Levy is that he tries to put it on you that financial fair play is an obstacle. His job is to find a route round it, because that's what the good clubs do. That's what the well-run clubs do. So, onto that bit we mentioned about the money. We've invested 1.5 billion into capital assets. Now, if you're sitting there and you say, "Oh yes, but we've spent, you know, blah, million on a billion on the club," let me stop you there. No, you haven't. I know these buildings have gone up and these bricks and mortar, but none of it was player related. And yes, whilst it is great that we can have, you know, decent training facilities, which most top flight clubs have now, the reality is that you've sunk our money, because nothing comes from ENIC. ENIC borrowed money to buy Tottenham in the first place, right? So this 1.5, that isn't from you, that's from us. It's money that we generated buying tickets and merch and hot dogs and God knows what. So this notion that you have sunk money into this bricks and mortar stuff, no. You've done that because you saw it as being a more useful way of getting a return on your money. Whereas going the extra £500,000 to secure at 2 minutes to midnight the signing of insert name of player, there's been about 20 of them in my lifetime, that you viewed as a waste of money. And that's why we've got a tired squad, a disillusioned squad, and a squad that doesn't really like any coach that it's had recently. Another inadvertent funny, we have in that period progressed on the pitch. The progression that you're talking about, Sonny, is glacial. This is the difference between finishing 7th or 8th and finishing 3rd or 2nd or 4th. The progress has not been on the green stuff. The progress has been on the profit and loss ledger. It is grotesque that you would say that we've made progress, because as a football club, we absolutely have not. and sorry, but all of this, it's just wading through pain. Every single penny goes back into the team. That's fundamentally untrue. If every single penny had gone back into the team, then you wouldn't have had 1.4, 1.5 billion to sink into capital assets, into bricks and mortar and skywalks and a whole load of other stuff that nobody asked for. This business is about infrastructure. And this is something else that the Levy apologists cling to. And like the old line, like a drunk to a lamppost, it's more for support rather than illumination. Infrastructure, I mean, this is like, there are people out there who would tell you that before ENIC arrived, Spurs were a burnt out car. They would tell you all sorts of absolute distortions in order to try and sort of supplicate you, try and just towel you down and say, listen, you don't understand. This is really complicated. It's not as easy as it looks. I'm not suggesting a swing too far the other way and going on a mad splurge. What I'm talking about is something in the middle, a happy medium, so whereby the club isn't neglected and neither is the infrastructure. But this business is about, oh, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, while the football team wins nothing. Yeah, that's what's happened. It's won nothing. One League Cup. And then there's business about protecting the club. And like I've said to you, the biggest threat in the last 20 years to this club and to this business has been ENIC. The closing line, we've got unfinished business. That was a line, curiously, which was put out from the club in relation to Poch returning. And it wouldn't surprise me that he's used the same language. The truth is, we're in a hole that you dug with our money that you bought the spades with, and now you're scrambling to get yourself out of it. I see a few people, not just on here but on other places, they're starting to talk about the pressure that they can exert on this bunch, and I can only recommend that you do whatever you can, whatever you feel comfortable with, in order to put the squeeze on this mob, because they're quite frankly, at the moment, they're cornered, and I'm telling you, over the next 2 or 3 seasons, things are going to get worse. I can't see into the future. Maybe these 2 guys they're bringing in are going to do like it's Magic Circle time, you know, and Kane will stay and we'll win the Champions League, and I can't see it. I can't see any of it at all. I don't even think if Conte had come that Kane would have stayed. I think he feels that he's given more than is fair, and it's time for him to be rewarded by football. So this is heartbreaking. You know, it's soul-destroying stuff we're up against here, and I apologise if I've gone on a bit. We're a little bit over. But just all I can tell you is do what you can. Nobody's going to think any less of you. Nobody with a brain. No smart person is going to think any less of you if you don't buy a shirt, or you know you're not renewing and you're not giving it. Oh, yeah, but I'm Tottenham till I die. Well, good luck to you if you're Tottenham till you die. Go to every bloody game. Give them all your money. Give them all your money. You know, and see where it gets you. We're 20 years in. I mean, I really wonder this. You know, when do you think the jam is going to come? Because it's been coming tomorrow for 2 decades, and it just isn't good enough. It really isn't good enough. Right, on that cheery note, the sun's coming over, so before I get zapped, I wish you well, and we'll speak again. Keep it Tottenham.